Welcome to the Modern Dad Show. I'm Chandru.
I'm Carl Lyons.
And we are Modern Dads. And this week we're going to be talking about traveling with kids.
Traveling with kids.
Yay, joy!
It's a minefield, right?
It is a minefield. So the thing that a lot of people don't understand is what it entails when you have to take even a short trip with kids. You're like a refugee.
Oh, yeah.
Because
totally.
you got to carry their food.
Shopping trolleys, right?
You have to take so many things just to make a short trip happen, and just preparing all of that and then coming back,
True,
keeping in mind the kid's sleeping cycle and
Yeah.
hoping he doesn't or
Yeah.
she doesn't sleep in the car.
Yeah.
And then coming back home to deal with that, and people don't understand how difficult it is.
It is, yeah. It's almost not worth going out, right?
I never wanted to go out. If it wasn't walking distance where I didn't need just the pushchair, I was very reluctant.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But my kids are a little bit older than yours now. We've just been on a holiday, and it's the first time we've done a long haul flight, 3 kids, 11 hours on the flight. And it was an absolute nightmare. What you've got to have is you've got to be organised. You're absolutely right. You've got to have all of the stuff, colouring stuff, books. And fortunately, on long haul flights, you've got your screens, right? So our kids, if given the choice, would watch back-to-back movies for 11 hours. And, we've already talked about this in terms of discipline and screen time, all that kind of thing. So you've got that dilemma already.
Yeah.
But I think what trumps the limited screen time is the quiet, occupied children, basically, in an environment where you can't escape. Yeah, totally. Yeah. What happened to me was one of the screens didn't work.
Yeah.
So what do? Daddy has to take one for the team.
Yeah.
So this is part of being a modern dad, by the way, that you've got to take, some of these things on board yourself. So I sat there for 11 hours with no screen in front of me.
But you had the peace and quiet. When you go on long haul flights, I don't know if this is the case with your kids because they're much older, but with my kids, you have to take spare clothes for them, understandably. You have to take spare clothes for yourself.
Yeah.
You might say, why?
Well, why?
So,
is that something to do with that weak bladder of yours, maybe?
Well, that
maybe
too,
not.
but a friend of mine was taking a short haul flight. He has a daughter the same age as mine. It was a full flight, 3 of them sitting in a 3-seater, and all of a sudden he had the kid in his hands, and he could see that she was uncomfortable, and she was about to vomit.
Yeah.
There was no vomit bag. He had some random person on his left. He couldn't jump over the right in time and rush to the loo.
Yeah.
So what does he do?
There's
no vomit bag. What does he do? So what he did was he literally pulled his shirt down.
Oh no!
And let the kid vomit inside his shirt. And then he obviously had to do the walk of shame down the aisle, trying to not look at people in the eye and explain that it's not his puke.
This is not in
the
lavatory. Parenting handbook anyway.
No, Gina Ford that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where's Gina Ford when that happens? So you've got to take spare clothes for yourself. And now when you think about how much space you're allowed with cabin luggage and whatever, you got spare clothes for the kids, you got spare clothes for yourselves, and all the other food, because airline food.
Yeah.
Need I say more?
It's funny you should talk about the vomit experience. I mean, we had exactly that. Long haul flight. I won't name the airline, but the food was not very good. But inevitably, for 2 of my kids, it came up the other way as well, towards the end of the flight. And then, so we thought 2 out of 3, okay. But then the transfer from the airport to the resort that we were going to, the third one kind of, filled the gap in there and puked up in the transfer as well. So you've got to think these things ahead.
Well, I've told you this. I mean, your kids' palates. I mean, you need to pull back on the fancy food.
You're probably right. Yeah.
But just in case there isn't, that's a great tip. Carry your own vomit bags.
Yeah.
It's important in the pre-planning stage to make sure all your tablets are charged and fully loaded with content. Because the last thing you want is to go on there and not have the content. But another interesting fact is a lot of planes in this day and age have a USB port. You're going to glaze over right now. So you could actually take your content and put it directly in. So then you control what they watch as well.
Right. I think your point is that it's the pre-planning that's required for things like this, going anywhere with kids, of course. If you can sort that kind of project management out, I'm sure that, probably send you into the Middle East and get that problem sorted out as well, to be honest.
Now, when I'm on a flight and I hear a kid crying, I'm a little bit, more sympathetic.
If I hear somebody else's kid crying, my relief is the fact that it's not my kid, I've not got to deal with it. It's almost like a lullaby to me then. If somebody else has got to deal with it, great stuff.
So you're saying if you hear someone else's kid crying, you're actually pleased. To summarize, Carl's other show is Sociopaths Are Us. Please tune in. So another interesting thing is about traveling in cars. My kids insist on talking to me when I'm driving, especially when I'm reversing, and it just drives me insane. It absolutely messes my concentration. I don't know if other parents get affected this way.
Hey, you kids, be nice, or so help me, I will turn this car around. Cut it out! Stop. That's it!
But you're not able to multitask. Is that the essence of that story?
Perhaps
right
I'm
there?
not with my kids. I think when they're talking to me, maybe I struggle to multitask.
Okay, right.
When it's my wife talking to me, I'm great.
Let me just talk about a good experience in the car with the kids, because when our kids were really young, and with one or two of them, they didn't sleep so well at home actually. But you get your kids in the car, the car seat, and that kind of warmth and the movement and the sound of the engine, off to sleep straight away.
What I did with my kids is I bought some CDs, Julia Donaldson, and then I play to them, and that buys me some time. They have music that they're fans of. My daughter loves Frozen, Moana, my son likes Cars, so I'll play that.
Good tip.
Yeah.
No, and I think you're right, the audiobooks are great, but I don't know about you, I used to be driven mad by the kids' music that would play almost on an infinite loop in the car, kind of nursery rhymes and kids' songs and all of that kind of thing. It used to drive me nuts. And there was one or two occasions, I've got a car where the back windows are blacked out actually, and obviously the kids are in the back strapped into the car seats and everything. There's been a few occasions where I'm stopped at the traffic lights, windows down, and you kind of look across, wheels on the bus is kind of blasting out, and the guy next to you will be looking at the car thinking, what's this guy's taste in music? But that's one of the things, right? I mean, as a parent, you've got to, the vomit stories, the kind of music in the car story, you lose all self-respect, right? You've got to kind of leave ego at the door.
What is self-respect? I have no idea anymore.
Right, that's part of the deal.
But that's our experiences traveling with kids, and we'd love to get your input, your tips, your suggestions, and even your stories.
Yeah, some questions maybe.
Let us know what you think, and thank you again for tuning in.
Thanks a lot. See you soon. I need to bring you along actually for our next trip. Yeah,
just bring a vomit bag.
Yeah.
Always carry vomit bags.